Welcome to the Mander's Mindset Podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective, and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome back. If you're joining me for part 2 of my conversation with Jenny C. Cohen, I am so glad you're here. If you haven't had a chance to listen to part 1 yet, I definitely recommend starting there, so you can hear Jenny's incredible story from the beginning. In this second half, we continue our conversation as Jenny opens up about her breast cancer journey, the lessons that came from it, and how she learned to embrace healing, resilience, and living authentically. Now let's jump back in. Welcome to Mander's Mindset, where we explore the power of shifting your mindset to shift your life. I'm your host, Amanda Russo, and I am so excited for today's guest. I am here with Jenny C. Cohen, and she is a visibility and embodiment master, helping high-achieving 40-plus entrepreneurs transform fear of being seen into bold leadership. She's the creator of the Spotlight Confidence Formula, and we will delve into what that is. She's the host of the Dance to Heal podcast, ranked in the top 10% globally, and she's an author. And I am so excited to speak with her. Thank you so much for joining me, Jenny.
Amanda, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Jenny, you mentioned getting breast cancer in your 40s. How did you discover that you had breast cancer?
So I found a lump June 17th, 2014. And I had just come home from 5 days in Germany because earlier that year in January, I won a contest in Virginia. And part of my winnings was to go to Germany and watch a debut of this big belly dance show out there. And then I got a big performance spot in the Saturday night show that everyone wants. And then I got because I won the contest in January. And then they made me compete on Sunday because it's part of your winnings. You had to compete. And I came from this amazing international trip by myself, and then I found a lump that Tuesday in the shower. And I thought, oh, is it just a lump that I had in college that came back? And luckily, the following week, I had a physical that I hadn't done in years. And I walked in and I was telling the doctor, oh, I had this funny lump here. And he went, okay, you need to go get a mammogram. He's like, there's no point in doing your physical. If you were my wife, I would be calling Sloan Kettering back. He was this amazing doctor. I still see his face. I don't remember his name anymore because it was just so traumatic around that time. But I remember him saying to me, there's no point in you seeing me anymore for this physical. You need a mammogram right now. Go, do it now. Come back to me. Let me know. Send the results to me. But we don't need to have any conversation. If you were my wife, I would be calling Memorial Sloan right now.
And so you went for the mammogram?
Yeah, I reluctantly went, and then luckily back in those days, so that was when I was 44, so 11 years ago. 10 years prior to that, they were giving women mammograms in their 30s. I actually had a mammogram from my 30s. And at that time, they were trying to earlier trace women because I had denser breasts. So I had this 9-year before, and they compared it, and they were like, we need to do a ultrasound-guided biopsy. And I was kind of like, oh, can we wait until next week? Because my kids are going out to Atlanta, and they're doing this. And they're like, no, we'll fit you in tomorrow before you leave for Atlantic City. And I'm thinking, they're so nice, not realizing they're like, you're an emergency case. we're just confirming the diagnosis. And I'm like, oh, they're so nice, going to fit me in. So I had to do this ultrasound guided biopsy and this big bulk bandage on my boob. And I'm still driving my kids down to Atlanta that day to do the advanced intensive. And then, so that was a Tuesday. Wednesday, I found out on Friday on the phone that I had some type of cancer at the airport because I lost my phone too. So that they had to call me through the hotel phone because my phone got lost. Someone stole it and they're trying to hold us hostage for it like the whole weekend. Girl, I'm telling you, it's never simple for me. And so I got the results on Friday. The doctor said, I'm going to call you again on Monday, but I want you to schedule an appointment with Memorial Sloan. Here's a phone number. So Friday I heard, oh, you have cancer, but I heard some other words. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's just like some radiation and maybe minor surgery. I actually had the other kind that required chemotherapy, surgery, radiation. I deliberately heard the other kind. And then the following Monday, I was gently reassured that I did not have the lesser kind of cancer. I had the little more scary, but luckily they just had recently developed a protocol for it, cancer. And when I met with my surgeon, the oncologist, she's like, we would like to start you chemotherapy it was June 17th. They wanted to start me like mid-July, but I was like, no, we're going camping. I start the camping. And they're like, all right, but no later. You really can't wait. We need to start your chemo. And so my first chemo treatment was July 30th. And then I did 16 cycles of chemo, surgery, and then 35 cycles of radiation. And then this other type of chemotherapy that they called infusions that I started the October before went all the way through to the following October. And I had to have like a port. And they moved the port.
Wow.
Yeah.
About how long did that all take?
So June through the following October, December, like that time. So 2014, June, found the lump. Like all the consults and tests and everything, and then started the chemo, and then the surgery, and then the radiation, and then continued the infusions until October, and then had the port taken out November. And here's the thing: most of us who have breast cancer or certain types of cancer, the chemotherapy will knock you into menopause, which I didn't realize would be a big deal. I was like, "Yay, no period, woohoo!" And not realizing that menopause leads to osteoporosis and all kinds of changes down there that leads to dangerous things like recurrent urinary tract infections that can kill you. Didn't know any of this stuff. No one tells you. Luckily, I already had kids, so I didn't need to worry about making babies, right? Because it throws you into menopause. And I ended up having now I have to get Prolia shots because I have osteoporosis in my back, my neck, and I started seeing it in my hips. So I'm super excited I'm alive. Now I have to go on I started hormone replacement therapy last year because I'd rather risk my cancer coming back than break a hip. Because if I break a hip, I'm 1 in 3 women chance of dying a year later after hip fracture. That's the occurrence rates right now, according to orthopedic surgeons and all this research. People don't tell you this.
1 in 3?
1 in 3. I thought I was exaggerating it, but this, what's her last name? Dr. Vonda? I have her book upstairs. I just got to see her talk on stage at Charlene Johnson's Camp Be More event in Vegas. They do it every year. And this orthopedic surgeon was saying, women don't understand. Forget about how much you weigh. We need to focus when you're in menopause or getting into menopause on strengthening jumping as much as possible. Build up your bone density, build up your strength. Those are the number one preventives of us literally dying in our older ages. And more protein. Forget about carbs. Don't worry about that. Just eat more protein because they're building blocks to our muscles.
So now that you mentioned protein, I have a question for you. I heard you say this briefly on your podcast. You don't consume whey protein anymore post cancer. Is that correct?
So Asian cultures don't have a lot of dairy anyways. When I came to the States was when I was more exposed to milk. Okay. And my husband's brother, before he got cancer, before we got married, he died of a heart attack at 26. And then even the rabbi was like, he dropped dead one morning at a friend's house. And the rabbi was like, this is suspicious. And the Jewish people don't normally want to do autopsies because it's sacrilegious to the body. Even the rabbi was like, you need to get an autopsy to rule out why did he die at 26. So they did it, and they found 3 major arteries blocked in his heart at 26. So my husband was like, I need to keep a level, because my husband he's kind of like a type A personality. So he's really fit and thin, but he's high levels of stress. And I used to work in cardiac as an occupational therapist. So I know most of the people with cardiac problems aren't overweight people. They're the N-shape, high stress people that end up with cardiac problems. So my husband was keeping track of all his bad and good cholesterols, and they were climbing. So then he started exploring different ways of lowering his risk of heart disease. And I started reading up on it. So there's a movie called Forks Over Knives that talks about reversible heart disease through just plant protein diets, like salads and veggies, but no meat, trying to keep your rates down. That led to this book called The China Study. And they tested, so there were different things that this book talks about. One is natural study they did on rats, where of course it was terrible for the rats, but it helped humans, right? The rats, they tracked cancer rates in the rats. And when they fed over a certain amount of protein, whey protein, the rats' cancer started climbing. But then they dropped the whey protein down to a certain level, and the cancer either stopped growing or went down in growth. I know. And so I was like, wait a minute. When I was getting in shape before I got breast cancer, I was vegan, except I was like completely vegan. Then my husband went in for an emergency bowel obstruction. The month before I got cancer, I had brought whey proteins back in my diet. Like, I've been completely vegan, working out. I was the thinnest I've been, even pre-babies. I was muscly, strong, cardio was strong. Then he went into this emergency bowel obstruction where I thought I was going to be a widow. Horrible fighting with my in-laws, sleeping by his bedside at the hospital. My kids were sleeping in the car with the dogs in the parking lot. And I had no help at all. And I was in high stress, and I was eating pizza in the cafeteria, right? Cheese, the only dish shift was that, pizza and cheese. Like, I brought dairy back into my diet. And then I got the breast cancer. There's no history of breast cancer in my family. Nothing. Cancer, yes. Breast cancer, no. My mom got breast cancer after my cancer. Different kind of cancer.
Wow.
So I don't do any whey protein at all.
What was the book you referenced before the China study? You said another one.
It's a movie called Forks Over Knives. And they cited the China study in that movie. I believe that's what led my husband to the book. I never read the book, except that whole freaking study with the rats and the whey proteins. So now whenever I drink proteins, if they have whey in it, I don't have any. I am dairy-free completely. We've even taken gluten out of our diet because my son has celiac, so we don't have any gluten in the house. And I forgot to mention, though, also, my son ended up diagnosed with type 1 when he was 10, type 1 diabetes. So we were kind of coming off that thing he's like 4 years after breast diagnosis and almost dying from it. And so it'd been 4 years of me not sleeping because I was afraid he was going to die in his sleep. Type 1 diabetics, when they're young, they can die in their sleep. They can drop too low and you don't wake up in time. Now they have wonderful monitors to check, but back then, 1 in 9 kids, I think, were dying in their sleep, would not make it. Like 1 in 9 diabetics in their lifetime would die, wouldn't make it past a certain age or something. So I was worried about that because I read too much about it. So I would go to bed at 3 or 4. My husband gets up at 4. So I would never go to bed before 2 for years. Even now, I still have a bad habit of going to bed late. And I was starting to kind of like ease up a little bit on my son's type 1 diabetes care. And then Michael got the bowel obstruction. And then my in-laws were really, really bad, really misbehaved, really bad, like yelling and calling nurse's office, like the nursing station. Had to be put on the do not admit in the hospital list. It was terrible. In the middle of all that, right? I'm managing my son and his sister in the car, checking his blood sugars, hoping he doesn't die in his sleep. My husband's after his bowel obstruction surgery. So it's like, okay, that's a lot. Yeah. Then the breast cancer a month after.
And now, how long after all this did you get into launching a podcast and writing your book?
Yeah. The panini, the COVID lockdown. I call it the panini. COVID lockdown was when I actually started launching my business. I got yoga certified through a program that you only get before then by going to Barcelona. They made it online. So Yoga Body, I got certified in their breath work, in their stretching, and in their yoga. And then I realized, well, there's a book inside of me. I got to talk about how to recover. And then I started doing this involved neuro-linguistic programming that helped me become a different type of coach. It's also very Jungian, very works with internal family systems type of thing, giving people more tools to bring themselves back together. And then I tied it in with my dance because dance never left. Like I danced before cancer, during all my cancer care, my doctors were tired of me traveling. They'd be like, I'm sorry, can we do this? Another time that I got this thing to do, they'd be like, well, where were you since, because I was seeing them every 2 to 3 weeks. They'd be like, so where have you been since we last saw you? And I was always having dance things because it helped me stay connected. Because when you go through cancer, at first you think you can't trust your body. And then now I realize my body is having trouble trusting me because I put it through chemo. Right? So here's another thing. When I talk about the outside in recovery, I'm referring to accepting of the understanding that our bodies, we came into this lifetime with bodies that are helping us get to where we need to be. In that relationship, I want people to understand, wouldn't it be great if you understood that your body's sole purpose is to make it possible for you to do what you want to do? Inherent is the understanding you got to take care of your body. Because like you think about marathon runners, what body wants to do that? I mean, seriously. But your mind's like, I want to run a marathon. The body's like, okay, I don't really want to run 26 miles, but let's do it. Because you want it, I'm going to do it. Right? Or like my kids were junior Olympians. The amount of overtraining they did to get to that level, the normal body does not want to do that, okay? But they wanted to be Olympians. Body's like, okay, I'll bend backwards in half and be able to, put my chin on the floor, have my butt on my head, like that kind of stuff. No body wants to do that. Right. And now my kids in their 20s, they've relearned completely how to listen to their bodies. And that's really what all we need to do. Our bodies hold a lot of our answers. You got to learn to ask and listen when your body answers you. For example, if you're thirsty, it's already too late. Your body was already giving you signs before you're thirsty. I love that I was telling you to sip your big sippy cup because like the level of hydration we need, our bodies would like it if it didn't have to ask through the thirst. If we were just providing liquid throughout the day, it'd be nice. Right? Sleep, food, even stress release.
That's true. You probably have a lot of them, but I was going to ask if you have suggestions for people to ask their body or how to listen to it. I'm sure you have a lot of suggestions. So
yes, I'll only limit to 2. Okay. If they want to follow you to my Dance to Heal podcast, we'll share more, but today just 2. Okay. And they're welcome to do my monthly masterclass at movetobloom.com. And I cover more of that. But right now, 2 ways. One is journaling. So you have to write it. You can't type it. I'm so sorry. It's a different pathway in your brain when you write things versus when you type. Okay. And we want to access that
100%.
I'm coming from the foundational acceptance that you can talk to your subconscious through your handwriting. Body talks through your handwriting. So you would write a question with your dominant hand. It's got to be a glidey pen. It can't be like a hard pen that to scribble. A glidey like thicker pen that's easy to go across paper. You ask the
like
question.
a gel one.
A gel one. Put in your non-dominant hand and just let that hand scribble out the answer. At first, it may not be legible. It's okay. The more you do it, the more clear it'll be. And you might be one of the lucky ones where your handwriting will be very legible as soon as you start writing. 2 stories about that. My son, very resistant to this exercise. He understood the value, just wouldn't do it for 2 years. we hit a point where like this color's black. He'd be like, no, it's white. Like that kind of thing. And so it took a while, and then he finally did it. And his subconscious answered him in poetry. I mean, completely legible poetry. Like his body was waiting him to ask good questions. Come on, I need to tell you this. And then my husband, who was kind of poo-pooing it, he did it. And his non-dominant hand wrote him stories about his childhood, heartbreaking stories, Amanda.
So are you asking a question before you are just writing? Okay.
So you just ask a question with your dominant hand. For example, you can be like, oh, I always coach when I'm either guest teaching in someone's platform. Like I just did an in-person retreat. I was like, because for them it was a boundaries exercise we were doing. So I had them write the question, is my self-care enough? And then they answered in their non-dominant hand. And all of them was like, no, I need you to do this. I'm not getting enough sleep. Please hydrate more. Like it was really interesting, some of the answers they were getting.
Okay, so you're writing the question with your dominant hand and you're writing the answer with your non-dominant hand.
Yeah. And you're not like gonna, because I've done this on and off for quite a long time. And last night I actually had a back and forth. Like I asked, how are you? And my answer was, I'm really lonely and sad. And I was like, oh, do you know I'm here with you? And then, yes, I know. But, yeah. There were some answers I was kind of quite surprised at, because I was like, I had to resolve that, but obviously not. And it ended with me going, I'm like, do you want to come with me? And the answer was yes. But like my non-dominant hand was like, where are we going first? Because I was not blindly following. And I had to say, well, we're going to go back home into the light. And the answer was okay. So these exercises that we're doing aren't a one-time done. Because like I'm level 57. So when I started this work, I was about 50. So I'm dealing with 50 years worth of stuff that I have not resolved. And I'm only in 7 of 50, right? Of course, it's not one for one, but and then at the same time, life didn't stop happening. Like life is lifing. Things are still happening right now that we still have to process while you're bringing parts of you back from the past. It's not a one and done. It's a daily you're worthy of this. Okay. It's a daily resetting that's really essential for our mental health, your energetic health, your body's health. The other thing is muscle testing. So that's kinesiology, meaning your body can tell you yes or no. They started doing it with food. Like someone would stand up and hold like a bag of sugar. I used to go through 5 pounds of sugar in 2 weeks. Okay. So I was like a sugarholic, Amanda. I have no sugar now. I only have stevia, but I know you're like, no wonder you got cancer.
I don't know. No, I'm thinking that. Sometimes my eyes give me away.
I was thinking that, Amanda. So if I want to know if something was for my utmost good, right, and it was food, I would hold it to my chest, close my eyes, and ask, is this food for my utmost health? And I would feel either leaning away from it or leaning forward. And that would be like leaning towards it would be like a yes, and leaning away from it would be like a no. Right? But we can't do that every time we're in conversation with someone and we get a download. Is this person telling the truth? I can't be like, excuse me, I want to get up and do the sleeping thing. Right? So
You could.
people are like, why are you trusting yes or no right now? Like, so there's that. The second, there's another way where I could physically do it on you, where I would push down on your arm. We would say, okay, you would say, my name is Amanda. And then I will push down on your forearm, and your arm would be pretty strong because you're Amanda. Mine went down because I'm not Amanda. Right? Right? And then we would say, oh, hypothetically, your name is Penelope Cruz. And then we do a muscle test. And on you, it would be a no, like this, because it'd be a little gift, right? Or what color are your eyes?
I think hazel.
Hazel. Like, so my eyes are brown. And you see how I didn't go down? My eyes are brown. But if I were to say my eyes are hazel like Amanda's, there's a little give, and I'm literally trying to keep my arm up. Okay. Yeah. There's other ways to do it where you're making a ring with the tips of your finger. So do this one with me, because this one a little bit easier, medium. And yeah, it's a little bit more difficult because you have nails, but you're going to do the pads close together. You pinch your nails, your tips together the best you can. Take the other hand and put it at the seam. And your goal is trying to pull the hand through, but you're trying to pinch your fingers together. So you're going to say, like, my name is Jenny C. Cohen, and I'm pinching my fingers, and it's very difficult. I can't pull it through because my body's going, yeah. So you're just doing this tip, and you're just pulling through. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the tip.
Just
And I'm trying to I'm pushing it through.
I'm trying to pull it through where the fingers are together, like this. So you're trying to pull it against where your fingers are meeting. So right now you're here, but you're going to go to where the fingers are meeting.
Oh, so I want to do it this way.
You want to do it against the fingers where the pinch is, but the palm of this other hand is towards you, so it's just ergonomically easier for you. Yeah.
So it should be this way.
But you're trying to pull it through your fingers. You're trying to do this. So you're doing this. Yeah, you're trying to pull through between the fingers. You're trying to break
This way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
I would
I
not
know.
understand.
It's okay. It's okay. Because we're not in person. Like online's a little bit difficult with Zoom. So there's this way where people sometimes get more of an accurate reading, but then you can just do like the finger where it's like you're holding a gun and your fingers along the barrel. And then you take your other hand. So put your palm towards you on that hand. Put your palm towards you. I'll show you. So if you make let me bring it lower. So if you make a fist, yep. And then you hold this finger as strong as possible. Yeah. And then your left hand gently pushes on that knuckle and it should feel pretty firm, right? Yeah. Does it feel pretty strong, right? So you're going to say, my name is Amanda Russo.
My name is Amanda Russo.
And then it feels strong, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then release. And then my name is Penelope Cruz.
My name is Penelope Cruz.
And then be really strong. And then does it give a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Your color, say my color eyes are hazel.
My color eyes are hazel.
And then pull down on it. Feel strong, right?
Yeah.
And say my color eyes are brown.
My color eyes are brown. No, it goes down.
Different? Yeah, right? So you have a very strong finger up and down. So you can ask yourself questions like, am I thirsty? Or should I eat something? Or am I exercising enough? Your body will give you yes, no answers pretty quickly because you have a very strong yes, no with this particular technique. Does that make sense? And like, I was just on a guest on another podcast where after we stopped recording, she was sharing with me about how they have an older cat that's been yowling nonstop. And the cat also is deaf. And it's kind of old. And I was like, well, can I teach you muscle testing? So we establish a yes and no. And because you know how animals can't tell you if they're in pain?
For the cat, you established muscle testing.
The owner of the cat, we established her yes and no. And then we had her testing about her cat. Is her cat in pain? The cat was 18 years old, yowling nonstop, deaf. And so we had a muscle test. Is your cat in pain? Yes. Is it time to let your cat go? Yes. Do you know what I mean? She's like, I don't know if I should go. So let's just ask. And her body was like, yes, because your cat's suffering. But sometimes like our present selves, we don't want to let the animals go. Right? But the cat was suffering. It's 18 years old. Does that make sense? So like sometimes it's easier if you just ask yes or no, and then it takes the brunt off you. We don't have to understand. We have a lot of animals. Like at one point we had 14 cats. So I joked 13.3 because 0.3 was this tiny little, and she's just really small. Now she's 0.7. She got fat and round, right? So, and then we lost 4 cats, and then we adopted 2. So now we're at 11.7, like 12 cats. And every time for our pets, we muscle test. Is our cat hurting? Is it time to let him go? Because like we had a cat who was with us for many years. We got her when Daniel first got type 1. And she used to come get me when he was going low before he got his sensor. So she's very precious to us. And she got a lump in her stomach. And the doctor was like, it's cancer. And I was like, you just saw her like a month ago. She said, that's why we know it's cancer. And I was like, okay, we're putting her down. Because I was like, I'm not going to put my cat through surgery, biopsy. She had a heart murmur. I can't explain to my cat chemo. I know chemo. I will never put an animal through that. I don't care. how young they are. That's just me. I could not bear it. I could not bear it for them. I've already gone through it. You can't even explain to them in dog language as they're going to.
I know.
For me.
That's the tough thing that we can't like explain to them, you know,
And
like
yeah. And they just love on us. And anyway, so we said goodbye to Mushy. Her name's Mushy. Heartbreaking. She was our first cat, like our very, very first one.
So do you ask about the animals regularly? Is that a frequent thing you mess with?
Not so much, because we kind of reserve it for when they're like sick. Because for the most part, they're pretty expressive. And if we're present, we know what they need. Like, for example, our youngest cats are our biggest cats, and they're huge cats because I foster neonatal kittens. So I specialize, when I'm fostering, I specialize in the babies that are like eyes not open. Sometimes they still have the umbilical cord still attached. So it's like very intensive care for the kittens. And we celebrate when we get the first poo. It's like, oh, they're going to live. So our last 2 fosters, we kept them. And they're very, very big. Very big. And one of them started peeing. And we couldn't figure out who it was. And when we finally figured it out, she now just has to wear a diaper when she's not in my daughter's room. And then we figured out, when to offer her a chance to go to the bathroom and then when to put her diaper on, because she's marking territory. It's just a thing. And you have a lot of cats who want to mark their territories. And I know when they're being bad, Amanda. I don't need a psychic to tell me that they're like rebelling.
That's true. Transitioning back a tad, you mentioned starting the business around COVID time, but what shifted inside of you that you were like, I'm done with occupational therapy. I'm gonna run my own business?
Right before the lockdown, I had gone through an entire year course to recertify and relicense as an OT. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, I don't want to be ever in a hospital. I was like, no, I can't. Because my son has type 1 and asthma. I have asthma. And the second year, we started going back to activities. And I went to a dance event in Montreal where 2 other participants were international people, and they were sick and didn't tell us, and I got COVID. And I was so worried I was going to give it to my son. Like, I locked myself down for 3 weeks. I was gone for a week in Canada, came back. I tested positive in the car. I was like furious. So I'm so careful all the time. And then I had to go lock down in the office for 3 weeks. And I was like more worried about any of my family members getting it, because if my son gets it, most likely he won't survive because he has asthma, type 1 diabetes, and celiac. So it's a lot on his system. So we try really hard not to expose it to it. Like, even now, I use Manuka Garden nose spray to put up my nose before I go out. We have an air tamer that shoots ions around my head so that I don't bring germs home. And then we have a portable HEPA filter that I carry everywhere with me when I'm out in the public, just to clear the air. Because people won't take responsibility anymore if they happen to keep carrying it. I can't afford to bring it home to my family. So that I just, and I'll mask on a plane. If I'm in a very busy area, like if I go to a conference, I'll usually mask towards the end of it because people start getting sick. Day 2, 3, they start getting sick, I'll start masking.
Right.
Convention crud, right? Or something like that. I'm just really careful because I don't want to bring anything home.
So that was basically your deciding factor, and like your switching.
Yeah, COVID lockdown, I was like, I don't think I want to go back in the hospitals. Then I started reading my book because I was like, back then in 2014, 15, when I was done, there was no support. There's more now, but back then, and I wasn't really actively being treated, so I didn't know what the hospital was coming up. And then we were in the middle of COVID. So I was like, there's got to be a book talking about my perspective of recovery. How do I come back in my body and feel safe again? That's why that book is called Outside in Recovery. And then I realized, and then I realized that all my customers I was getting through the book were all me before cancer. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. Everyone all just survived the pandemic, which is, my book is for all survivors. So now it's like, oh, everyone can use this.
Now, I'm curious, and I ask everybody who's written a book this, did you always think you would write a book? Even if not knowing about what, but did you always think you'd be an author?
No, I didn't realize I would be an author. It was more I needed to speak out about my experiences. And then the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people is that I speak on the recovery process and having cancer from a perspective they've never heard of. And yeah, like one of the feedback was someone's mom who has metastatic cancer. She read it and was like, no one ever expressed how I felt in this way. Like I've always felt alone with all the other breast cancer things, and this book made me feel less alone. And then she read that part to her daughter, and her daughter cried because she's like, I didn't know that's what you were feeling, Mom.
Wow, that's so beautiful, Jenny.
I was very moved. I was like, I'm so glad because, I think most people that go through life, you should write a book if you haven't written one. Have you written one, Amanda?
I have not written one.
Just so you know, I didn't write it physically. I actually spoke it onto a Word doc.
Did that help you write?
Yep. And then I edited it after. That's when we're healing. I never could really carry a tune, even though I even tried choir and stuff, and and I couldn't figure out like why it could not be not flat. And then as I've been healing, I can carry a tune. I have a pretty good voice. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. I can actually sing now.
Wow. So the podcast came after your book?
The podcast came shortly after my book because I wanted, the podcast called Dance to Heal. And we were speaking on birthrights. And I felt and still feel strongly that every person has the birthright of dancing to feel whole in their bodies. And that's a healing modality. And I'm referring to dance as just movement to what you perceive as music. I have clients that love birdsong because, the song of bird singing is actually a universal sound of safety. I have clients that like to dance to the sound of waves. And then you have a couple, there's, the Swifties and the K-pop people, whatever helps you feel happy in the moment. Every time you dance, there's a neuroscience happening, correlating to unity in your brain that's happening. So we can't, we're not compartmentalizing, we're uniting your brain when you dance to what you perceive as music.
So how did you decide you were going to start a podcast?
I met someone that said, hey, I can help you start your podcast. So like I gave her a bunch of money and they had a producer and they had like an editor already set up as part of their thing, their shtick, right?
You had not thought about it before somebody had you? No, you're shaking your head. Okay.
No, I didn't know. I just, how like some people have you as a guest and then they sell you something? I was one of those. I was like, here's money I don't have. And she gave me 6 episodes. 12 episodes, I think. Or 6. I can't remember. But it came with like a professional sounding voice introduction. They made music. They did artwork. And so it looked like a really professional show. And they hired a producer that set up the Zoom room for me and did all the stuff. And then I realized, wait, but I still can't find myself. There were no views of my podcast. I had great guests, but nobody was seeing them. Because I was actually subcontractor under 3 people, like 3 layers of subcontracting, if that makes sense. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then happenstance, I met someone from years ago, and I did not know that she helped people launch their podcasts. And Kate Souther was that person. She's based out in England. Her book, a book she wrote is in the Queen's Library. Yeah, in England. Yeah. So Kate said, look, I know that you're a good host. However, the way your setup is right now, no one can find you. And she had me prove it because I searched Jenny C. Cohen and no one came up that looked like me under Jenny Cohen, right? So she's like, look, we have to make you more searchable, which is why your podcast under your name will have you pop up in searches. And she set me up on YouTube, set me up under Buzzsprout. And through that alone, within a year, everything popped up under, and I took the name and she said, Jenny, buy your domain name now. So I bought Jenny C. Cohen because Jenny Cohen was taken. But Jenny C. Cohen, no one is doing that. Very few Jenny C. Cohens. A lot of non-Jenny looking Jenny Cohens everywhere.
That made me chuckle.
Jenny Cohen, it's all me. Like, it's all me. I've taken over the internet with Jenny C. Cohen. It's really funny. So I bought JennyCCohen.com. And, now when you type in Google, that it's me that comes up everywhere.
Yep.
We did tie it into the book because the fact that people don't understand dance is healing, and I had dancers come on the first 6 or 7 episodes that I knew personally that I could recommend highly as instructors.
That's amazing. And now you are very far into this, over 140 episodes into the podcast.
Yeah. It's super cool. I'm like, I can't remember my guests anymore. Like, I look over the list because I have memory loss from chemo. I still have chemo brain, and then the non-diagnosed ADHD. So it's like, if it's not in front of me, I forget. Like, who did I have on my podcast? I have to look at oh yeah, I had this cool person. I had them come back. We talked about that, and I had to go back and like look at all the faces and the names. Seriously, when I taught little kids, I had to take pictures of them on my phone with their little name labels, and I would drill their faces and names right before class because I would have 30 of them at a time when I was teaching little kids stretch class. I'd have to like look up all their faces and names every we had them twice a week. Right before class, I had to look through my whole little folder of their little faces and their little names to try and remember who they were.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
What has helped you stay consistent with the podcast?
Having someone help me do the editing, really honestly. Being a member of Podmatch has been amazing because Podmatch has found me quality guests. Now, I do have quite a number of people that I started inviting that were outside of Podmatch, but I've moved to pretty much full-time only on Podmatch. Case Other with her Make Your Mark agency, because they did all the setup, and then I just followed their format and shifted some things. And that's made a big difference because if I had not had a team, I never would have done it. I really wouldn't have, because I tend to blow up things tech. I had a teacher, her name is Asmara. She's one of the 2nd generation belly dancers in New York. And she has a certain frequency that drains batteries. Yeah, like she can't wear a watch anymore because the watch will die within a week on her wrist. Her car batteries will die for no reason. And I'm kind of the same way with tech. I figured out how to like keep my interfering frequencies, and I can get most things to work. But I will freeze things on my computer. And I promise there's nothing to do with me banging on it. I did used to bang on them. I don't do that anymore. We made friends. But there are certain things I can't get to work on tech, and I have to hand it off to other people.
That makes sense. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And I think the accountability makes, in some aspect, even if it's not somebody fully doing it for you, but even if it's an assistant that's taking over something, some sort of accountability as you are leveling this up I think is big.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's a fallacy that we have to do it all. It's a fallacy. I'm sorry. Who says you got to do it all at the same time? Like, what ridiculousness is that? How do I be present for anything if I have to do it all by myself all the time? As I level up and I hit 58 soon, I'm realizing that, I'm going to have seasons where I'm going to do more speaking, or where I'll start. I just got signed on by a talent agency here in Utah, and I'm going to be doing like more of those type of work. And maybe because I had also studied stand-up comedy, I might delve into more stand-up comedy. And because my kids don't need me, they're grown adults to finding their way. So there are times when you're just going to shift out of what you thought you were meant to do. And that's okay. Like, I'm body testing that all the time, just so you know. I'm resetting and clearing out my stuff. I have a very detailed morning mindset thing that I do that includes energy work, physical therapy exercises. By the way, a lot of us don't realize that, if you have a leg length discrepancy, a lot of us are told that. Most of it is because our pelvic alignment is wrong. I was told I had a leg length discrepancy for a long time. Then I found a physical therapist that gave me exercises to reset my SI joint and the twist in my pelvis. And I can readjust the leg length in my legs because my hips are twisted. So I can untwist my hips. And then when that happens, my ribs don't go out of alignment. And then when that happens, I can hold myself up really straight and strong because I'm really aligned physically. And then I layer that with energy clearing that I'm doing. And I have 2 different schools that I draw from. And it keeps my channel very clear.
What do you mean by 2 different schools?
So the evolved neurolinguistic programming, they have a whole thing called clearing denial that helps me stay in touch with like my truth. And then there's another thing called GEMS that's from Geotrans through one of my coaches that has to do with energy field work through numbers, like healing through numbers and codes. And they all have like very elaborate things that I work on with my clients that have to do with resetting you to kind of like your original programming when you were first born, before the world corrupted us and like messed with us. We got tools, but it also messes up with your programming. What's that programming? When we're first born, when babies act like they have the right to everything, that they're just going to be cared for and loved, right? Most babies are like that. We lose that as we grow up, and we're supposed to get back to that.
Wow. I also like how you mentioned a lot about seasons and things shifting. Regardless of age, identity, any of the above, we're always evolving and shifting and through different seasons of life. Whether you're a parent, whether you're not a parent, like things in life change. Something I say, and some people hate this and some people love this, but something I say all the time is nothing lasts forever. The good things that you have in life, enjoy the hell out of it. Scream it to the freaking heavens. And the things that you hate, it's going to be gone. You might not know when, but it's not going to be in your life forever. Like whatever it is, whether it's a crappy job, anything, nothing's going to be there forever.
So true. That's an absolute truth. It really is.
Even the relationships you have, like they are all going to end one day.
Except the one with your body. Because if you think about it, your body's the only thing that's been with you since before you were born. Every other relationship is exactly what you said. They won't be around. Yeah, I mean, you can't count on it. There are friends that I thought would be in my life forever, and we don't talk anymore. It's not that if we didn't see each other, we wouldn't love on each other, but we're not connected anymore, right?
I get that. I'm curious, and I'm sure you have had many of them, but I'm curious what you would consider the biggest aha moment you've had in your life.
When I first started running a business and hiring a lot of mentors that didn't really know what I was doing because they weren't my ideal clients, right? Everyone does this exercise where they're like, imagine yourself 5 years from now in your dream life. And I always get stuck on that because I'd be like, wait, but my life is really good right now. What do you mean? Like, you're not happy? Because, okay, have you heard of electrical muscle stem suits?
No.
Okay. There's a new thing that's been around for a while, but we just found it here in Salt Lake, where you wear these suits that will do electrical stimulation to all the major parts of your muscle. So that when you're doing a simple squat, it's still stimulating like your biceps and triceps and your butt and your abs. And so you get like 3 times workout. Okay. And I don't know why I'm telling you the story. Let me go back. This is so funny. I just lost my train of thought. This is so funny. Okay, anyways, my point is, when I'm thinking about the stream life, I'm like, I'm really happy right now because why would I might not be alive. Like, who are you with? I'm like, that person might be dead by then. I might not be talking to them anymore. How about I'm just really happy here. That exercise would never work for me. Like future pace. I'm like, but I'm in pace. I love if I really think about it, my life is really good. My family celebrates when everybody's healthy, no one's ill, no major emergencies are happening. Okay, I remember why. So this muscle test, the workout guy's like, why aren't you and your husband complaining? Because he's like, all my clients complain this is hard, and we're like, it's hard, but this is nothing compared to like our regular lives. We're here for 20 minutes during this hard workout, but like our everyday life is like really like a lot of challenges. The exercise system is like nothing. It's like, okay, we heard a little bit, great. It's hard. Yeah, whatever. We're not going to complain to you about it. And then on the other end of it is this big aha is like, if I'm alive and my husband's healthy and my kids are healthy and all the cats are healthy and we're not lacking for food or medicine or shelter, this is the ideal life. I'm very happy. Now, if I want to spread healing, that's different. If you want me to think about me affecting people and this message of your birthright to dance, not as a escape, but has a way to get present as fast as possible. And then from there, moving into your unconscious loops, I find my clients do better with that once their bodies are settled. That's different. I can have future pace with that. But for me personally, like my happy place is the fact that I'm present. Because for most of my life, Amanda, I haven't been.
Jenny. Oh my gosh. That's a beautiful aha. That makes so much sense. And I think it's so key for all of us, like a lot of listeners to the podcast are self-development type of people. And like we're always looking to what's next, what we're achieving, the business goals, the starting the business, the leveling up, all these different things. And it's like, okay, but what are you grateful for right now? Why tie so much stuff back into gratitude? Because you can't achieve whatever it is if you're not grateful for what you've got right now. Universe, God, higher power, even yourself is not going to give it to you if you do not appreciate what you've got right now.
Yes. Yes. Someone was talking about how like prayer, usually asking prayer isn't enough gratitude. Thanking the higher powers for what's been provided already and showing this true gratitude, not like an exchange, but like just thank you for this life.
Yeah. It's so true, Jenny. Oh my gosh, Jenny. I could talk to you all night. I could talk to you all night, Jenny. You probably regret telling me you didn't have a time limit.
Listen, we have a time exchange. It's only 7 here. You're the poor person who's like, it's after 9 o'clock. You need to be doing your wind down. What's your wind down? What do you do for wind down, Amanda? Do you do a bath? Do you do like meditation?
Yes, I'm the breathing goddess. Of course I breathe before bed.
Yeah.
It is a little late, but it's okay. I was fully in the present moment, Jenny. I was in the moment.
This time did fly by, though.
It did, right? It really did. Oh my gosh, Jenny. I loved this. I really loved speaking with you. Have you heard of a man named Jay Shetty?
Yes.
I'm a big fan, like big fan. He's got a podcast called On Purpose, and he ends it with 2 segments, and I've borrowed those 2 segments. He used to say I stole them, but I've had a lot of guests tell me that I shouldn't be saying that. So now I say I borrowed these questions because they are not mine. They're not mine at all. They're word for word what he says. But he ends it with those 2 segments, and I end Amanda's mindset with those 2 segments. First segment is the many sides to us, and there's 5 questions, and they need to be answered in 1 word each.
Okay.
What is 1 word someone who was meeting you for the first time would use to describe you as?
Funny.
What is 1 word someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you as?
Beloved.
What is 1 word you'd use to describe yourself?
Pain in the ass. No, that's more than 1.
It is more than 1 word. And I'm also the host that'll be like, that's not 1 word. I can wait. I can wait.
Describe myself. Present.
I love that. What is 1 word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset would use to describe you as?
Bossy.
What is 1 word you're trying to embody right now?
Radiance.
What is the best advice you've heard or received?
There's a quote by Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world.
Why is that the best?
Because making a difference starts with myself.
I agree with that. What is the worst advice you've heard or received?
They know better than me. I've had a lot of mentors not understand what I do. And instead of trusting myself, I trusted them and would go off directions. So the whole dance to heal prospect, I didn't develop it. I've had it for like 3 or 4 years.
What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Other people's validation.
If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be, as if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
Helping the world relearn their birthright of dancing to heal.
Love that. If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be? And I want to know why.
One law that they would dance at least 1 minute every day while they're tuned in to their 5 senses and breath. And why is because that gets them present immediately so they know whether or not they're on their right path.
And you say tuned into the 5 senses.
Yeah, that's difficult. That's actually something because I'm studying with someone based out in Portugal for a whole year on the neuroscience of dance. And she's like, Jenny, that's too many things. I'm like, but I've been practicing that for years. Because she says too much. Like, you can't focus on 5 senses and dance, maybe 2. And I'm like, no, they need to practice 5 because every sense is correlated to a different part of your brain. So if you're trying to focus on all 5 and breath work to your own pace, not mine, but their own mandate, as long as you're breathing in and out. Because I've learned recently that for some of us with unresolved trauma, that actually increases our trauma if we're being cued by other people for breath versus our own breath. I didn't know that. That was cool. But if you do that, you're lighting up all the different parts of your brain at the same time. So if you're super present, you'll get a download whether or not you're on the right path. Because sometimes we get lost really fast. But if you're doing that every day, you get redirected in your pivots.
Oh, that's fascinating to know. Jenny, thank you so, so much. I really enjoyed this. I could talk to you for a long time. And guys, if you loved Jenny as much as I have, and I'm sure you did, be sure to check the show notes. You can join her masterclass. She does it every month, correct?
Yes.
Every month. And if people want to get in touch with you, are you active on any social media?
All social media. It's all under Jenny C. Cohen. So Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. And if you message me and tell me that you found me from Amanda's Manager's Mindset podcast, then I'll know exactly what we talked about. And you can ask me any questions.
Oh, that's so sweet. Jenny is so friendly. So if you have questions, comments, anything you want to share with her, anything that even just resonated with you, I'm sure she would love to hear it. And no pressure, Jenny, but I do just like to give it back to the guests. Anything else you want to share with the listeners?
I got a download to make sure to remind everyone to just give yourself grace. Just give yourself grace every day. You're doing amazing. You're doing amazing. Even if it's a poopy day, you're still doing amazing. I think a lot of us don't hear enough of that. And this is just a reminder that you're doing wonderful. Just keep doing what you know is good for you, not what you should do. What you know is good for you, and keep giving yourself grace.
Thank you, Jenny. I completely agree.
Thank you for having me, Amanda.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Amanda's Mindset. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.